Hey everyone, before I get started, I just want to remind you that if you like my content, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and then join the Militia Man and Crew Patreon community by clicking the link in the caption. Hey everybody, happy Sunday. I don't know about you guys, but yes, today is Sunday, but this whole week's felt like Sunday, but I've realized today's Sunday. So anyway, that's just a little bit of humor. But hey, we have, excuse me, a few things that we did this week. We've kind of had a lot of information from our Super Samson in our Patreon forum with Militia Man and Crew, and also, of course, a massive amount of data that comes in with our Discord chat room. So I hope you guys enjoy all that and collectively follow along, because what the videos that we have are just a portion of what we get inside our room. All right, so just keep that in mind. But here's some interesting things. Okay, well, hey, guess who's here, everybody? It's Wally. So this time it's Wally. So he's going to be in the background. Look, we did our video the other day, and we talked about issuance and treasuries. We're talking about the creation of money. Well, what is that? Issuance is currency. Treasuries are bonds. Okay, that's liquidity. So keep that in mind. Keep that in perspective, because they talked about that just now, yesterday, the day before. They've been talking about certain things that they're going to do, but they also talked about it a while back. They talked about it at the beginning of 2004. They also talked about a lot of things that were going to happen in 2004 back in 2023. And that's pretty much why that, remember, the tripartite budget is all inclusive of 23, 24, and 25. I'm not going to get into the budget. We're not going to get into that tonight, but there's other things. Firstly, I'm going to just say this, is that we all know that the United States and the coalition forces have been around Iraq since 2003. And it turns out that there's always been pressure on to remove our forces, the coalition forces, not just the United States, but others too. But ultimately, this article today is coming just a little bit. I won't get into too much of it. Remember, though, that the region still has some turmoil. And one of the turmoils is, and there's been some change, which is probably a good thing for the neighbor, which is Syria. But there's also some other things that are going on in the background, which, you know, I'm not a political advisor or anything, or a military guy per se. I was in the United States Coast Guard, of course, but that's about it. But anyway, the point is that an American official, as high up as the president, says in a TV speech in the past, but he says, we will protect and defend the region, which includes Iraq, Jordan, and others, from any possible repercussions as a result of developments that happen in Syria. Okay, so, but what does it say? He says the above is blatant evidence that Iraq still needs the international coalition to protect it from the potential dangers that still hover around it. And it's evidence that all the strength that Iraq has, and in various other addresses, is insufficient for self-defense and does not serve the purpose. Okay, so it's not really hammering them or anything, or saying there's no security or anything like that. But at this stage of the game in the world, Iraq's probably not fully ready to be able to take care of the security needs that she has. And think about it for a minute. What we're expecting to happen is going to need a lot of security and a lot of reassurances, because there's going to be a lot of coalition influence when it comes to business. And they need to have that security in place. And who is the ones that talk about that? Well, a lot of people that talk about it is the HOR. They're always complaining, and they're trying to get them to leave. And they are always complaining about sovereignty and all these other issues. But at the end of the day, the bottom line is, where does it come from? Who's the one that talks about that? The people that talk about that, it says here, it says, Iraq has the right to request today an extension of the survival of foreign forces on its territory if it deems necessary for any reason. It says the decision is up to the government and the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. It has nothing to do with the House of Representatives. Nothing. Okay? So if it's al-Sudani wants us and wants the coalition, so be it. Subsequent commander-in-chiefs of the country of Iraq, if they want it, so be it. So we can put that to bed. So the next items I want to talk about is the And Iraq is basically talking about some really important stuff, and it's going to be short and sweet tonight. But it says here that Iraq, to permanently end the controversial dollar auction by the end of 2024. Now, remember now that there was going to be an imminent suspension. We talked about that in our last video. And we're going to see evidence of that again. So that's obviously when, and they say, it says the foreign currency sale window and electronic platform by the end of 2024. That's just in a couple of days, a few days. It says they're affirming that the decision is final. So it's going to happen. That's it. Final. We reassured the markets and consumers, noting that the vast majority of the traders have already adapted to the new system, which no longer provides direct dollar access from the central bank. Now remember, we had talked about 97%. We were talking about 95% for a long time. They ratcheted that up just a little bit. But under the new system set to fully replace the auction, traders will be required to deposit their funds in Iraqi dinars. And then you think about it, we have some other stuff we're going to talk about. Replacement. We're talking about exchange. We're talking about currency. We'll even talk about metals. Okay. They don't have metals, by the way. Remember that. But they haven't had them for over 20 years. Okay. It says that traders will be required to deposit those funds in Iraqi dinars at local banks that have established partnerships with foreign correspondent banks. These correspondent banks working alongside U.S. financial institutions will oversee compliance and verification and procedures. If you want to rewind, go back to 2018, and if you guys want to do a Google search, you're going to find that the FATF has been lifted back then. Okay? Look it up. We're not going to get into what that means, but Iraq is in a very good position. It says financial experts believe this shift distances the central bank from the potential of manipulation or fraudulent activities and protects it from possible U.S. sanctions that could cause severe consequences for Iraq's economy. So basically what they're saying is that in this particular case is that what they're doing right now is if they don't do it, there could be consequences. We said something about that the other night as well. The deadline for shutting down the platform is fixed and will not be extended. So they're reiterating that the dollar auction is to be by the end of the year. It's fixed. They're not going to change. It's going to happen. Okay. Why is that important? Well, there's that black market. They're going to have a problem, and they're not going to be able to do that anymore. And they're going to go to a new system. It's a new electronic system. Remember the electronic unified system? That's been already hooked up. So in other words, Baghdad and Erbil are already ready. So what they're telling us is, again, that 97% of those financial transfers are already being conducted with this new system. Okay? It says traders are unlikely to face any issues unless their funds are held with banks without correspondent partnerships. So look, there's just going to be a need to be able to, if you're going to do trade, you're going to have to do it with inside the parameters that are actually FATF qualified. Okay. And if you're on some of these OFAC lists and things of that nature, you're going to have a problem. Okay. He goes on and explains that starting on January 2nd, 2025, key date, January 2nd, 2025, the Central Bank of Iraq will no longer directly sell currency for external transfer transactions related to financing foreign trade and other payments to local banks on a daily basis. And we've already been telling you that, well, that's going to be the correspondent banks and the other banks to be able to do that. They're not going to have direct access to the central bank any longer. And this is huge, you guys, I think, is that Saleh, okay, he's an advisor. In a rentier economy, Iraq, the majority of markets' demand for foreign currency is met through the country's international reserves, managed by the Central Bank of Iraq. However, the mechanism has now changed significantly. Now, the definition of mechanism, they don't ever tell us exactly what it is. It can mean a lot of things. It can mean interest rates. It can mean exchange rates. It can mean a screwdriver, for instance. What tools are you going to use? Keyword tools. But it says today has now changed significantly. That was mentioned today by this gentleman. And he's highly respected. Okay, so in my view, they have a system in place, and there should be a seamless transition by when? They gave us a date. It should be. Now listen, I'm just giving you the information that they say. This is, in my opinion, of what these items are being told to us from them. I don't make it up. So I take it very seriously, as you guys all know. And I try to give the best. We at Militia Man and Crew, patreon.com/MM&C-CREW, our Discord chat room proves it. Okay, we do the best that we can. We're not always wrong. I mean, we're not always right. But sometimes we are wrong. But we try to make it right if we are. And that's because we learn. And that's what it's all about. Okay, it says we've been likely expecting a mechanism to change significantly. Why? Because we're going to see that they're going to need something. They're going to need a mechanism for what? Well, to do trade. And they're going to need a mechanism for if you have a replacement currency. You're going to need a replacement currency. Means why? Well, we all know that destroyed money, damaged money, buried money, all kinds of different events could happen. They're going to need to be reported if that replacement comes, because the expectation is now that they're going to show you that they have an expectation of having money coming in, and they're going to tell you that they have. There's a document out today. Dear Samson brought it to us today too, which is showing that there's about a 5,000 word document that talks about specific things. I'll get into that next. But however, that mechanism, and we're talking about how having changed significantly, he's talking about it today. Okay, so look, what does it appear? It appears like what they're doing is gearing for a change, and that change is coming, and they give you a time frame. Didn't say it's going to be that day, but you know, an exchange rate could come when Al-Alaq is ready to tell you or tell us and the world. But if that mechanism has to do with an exchange rate, they're talking about that today. That's fascinating. I think you guys will have to read it. Come on in if you haven't seen it. Please dig in and enjoy it, or do your own Google search and find it. You'll see that I'm talking about what's in print. Instruction standards for the circulation and exchange of banknotes and the mechanisms for counting and sorting. This comes out today. It says the continuation of our circular number 3449 dated 1/15/2024. Again, why is that important? Well, they talked about and told you about that back in the first month of this year. And now they're talking about it's going to be gone. These items are going to be certain things and are going to happen within this year. Okay, it says instruction standards for banknote trading and replacement and counting and sorting mechanisms. A further circular to that date on 1/15/2024. It says regarding the unification of updating controls and instructions for the standards of banknotes and trading and replacement. They attach basically the principles, standards, and instructions that will be adopted in what? Counting and sorting operations and the receipt and delivery of banknotes. Their expectation is they're going to have a lot of money coming in. Okay, it says it's to be implemented in accordance starting when? January 2nd, 2025. That's what they say here. Starting from that time frame. Okay, so it goes on and says instruction standards, banknote trading, replacement, and counting and sorting. So think about it, replacement. If you're going to change the value of your currency, you're going to have to replace that currency because you're going to have a need. You're going to have a need for something. If you have a significant mechanism change, it has now significantly changed, right? Okay. That's all going to be based off if the mechanism happens to be the exchange rate in this particular case. It could mean other things, but we're going to have to find out and wait and see. But I'll tell you what I think it is. I think that it's got an exchange rate orientation because of what I get into. Okay, the Central Bank of Iraq, pursuant to its Law 56 of 2004, as amended, is responsible for determining the categories of Iraqi banknotes, paper, and metal, their measurements and their shapes, printing paper notes, and minting metal coins, right? So if they haven't already minted some, they might be minting them in the future, or they will be doing on subsequent whenever they're damaged, whenever they need to be replaced, just like they do the currency. Normal behavior, right? What's not normal about this? What's not normal about this for the last 20 years is that they don't have any coins. They don't have any metals. Why are they talking about it now and today? That's powerful, you guys. Think about it for a minute. If that mechanism is now changed, as Soleil says, the mechanism means that there's going to have to be significant change. They talk about that. There has been significantly changed now. So if that's the case, what they're going to do is they're going to be talking about metals. That means the value of the exchange rate is going to change. You don't need coins at an exchange rate of 1310. Okay? It doesn't work that way. The value's got to be there. Okay, and it says here the paper notes, metal coins, and is responsible for destroying and replacing them and identifying defective ones, and it may refuse to replace and confiscate those banknotes and metals if they find conditions specified in the instructions are met. Okay, so that is pretty big. It's pretty powerful, you guys. Basically, if you come into Patreon, you'll find, or if you go into the CBI's website, you're going to find a document that shows this. I give out the link for that just because the fact remains is it's lengthy and I didn't want to put it in Patreon because I give the link. You guys can open it up and look at it because it saves everybody's time from scrolling. So I did that for you guys. There isn't a reason for mentioning the minting if there's not going to be an exchange rate change in the very near future. The country has not used, to the best of my knowledge, metal coins for about 20 years, plus years. They took metals out of circulation, I believe, back in 2003, 2004. To me, this document that I just speak of, it speaks of circulation of metal coins and their exchange and or replacement of them along with the banknotes. To replace or exchange something is to take, an action for a purpose and or for, transactions, monetary transactions, to be provided for those monetary services. It's just the way it's going to be. If there are not going to be many new coins or possibly have done so, there will be no need to have a focus or even a mention of it at this point in time, today. Metal and coins, they would not be needed, right? So I find that to be a big, powerful thing today because obviously they're still talking about it. Then if they're not going to change the value of the currency, they probably didn't have a need to focus in on it. That's just the way I see it, okay? It says basically, in my view, that an exchange rate that has to have an adequacy or which would bring a necessity to have them to be needed, it's obvious that that's what they're talking about. I mean, to me, it is the action of changing or to facilitate a need for coins would mean that there would be exchanging going on, which will require replacement, exchange, replacement, a couple of key words, circulation of money. Okay, they'll have to replace, for instance, the large notes with smaller notes. And if you're going to do that and you've created significant change, you're going to need fills, okay, coins. They don't have any. They haven't had them for 20 years. That's the power of all this. So they're going to have smaller denominations to do that. Fills or coins fill that void, if you will. So a new exchange rate will need a significant value for that to be a part of this equation. That's basically where we're coming up with, everybody. So stacking, sorting, and bundling currency notes, their expectation is a lot of currencies coming into Iraq, into the banks, and they're going to go through the proper channels. And they're going to have identification. You're going to have accountability. You come in with too much money, too many large category notes that don't fit your pay grade. They're gonna want to know where you got the money. It's going to be pretty tight. I think it's going to be good. I think this new system is going to work. I think that they have taken all the precautions. In Soudani's watch, it's taken about 2 years, and now they've given us some specific time frames. And this whole process for both the things that I talked about that were exchange rate change, they talk about specific things, dollar auction going away. And they also talk about the counting and sorting and replacement of money and currency. And when do they coincide? January 2nd, 2025. Their words, not mine. They're powerful. I hope you guys get the bigger picture. I appreciate you guys being with this. Thank you for all your support, your kind help, your donations. Please hit that like button if you like what we're talking about. We'd like to keep it going. We'd like to hear from you. Like, subscribe, and again, your support helps keep this place going. PayPal, Venmo, Zelle, we appreciate your guys' support. Thank you so much. Once again, guys, don't forget to hit that like button if you like this content. Subscribe to the channel or join us at the Militia Man and Crew Patreon community for even more exclusive content. You can also donate to this channel by hitting the links in the banner to help keep this page up and running. Your generous support is greatly appreciated, as always. Much appreciated. Thank you so much and have a great day.